And one day he decides he buys it in Tokyo and he thinks it's very cheap. Even though he's not allowed to do an uncovered trade, he lets it ride. Okay. And Nikkei keeps going down. 90s were very horrible times for Japanese stocks to begin with. And he loses money, he doubles up. Okay. Loses money, doubles up. And the position reaches pretty big. And by the way, in futures contracts, they always ask you to place a margin. The trouble is, London office is always getting these margin requests. But if you put a position in Tokyo and put another position in Singapore, they each ask for their own margin. So it wasn't that peculiar that there were high margin amounts. They assume that he's covering. When each position is closed back, then those margins return back. And then the 1994 Kobe earthquake happens, big destruction in Japan, stock market goes down even more, and at some point margin call was over 1 billion pounds. That was more than the reserves of Barings Bank. And they said, what the hell is going on? They said somebody to Singapore. Turns out these were uncovered positions. And they declared bankruptcy and yada, yada, yada. That guy actually went to prison for that. And his name is Nick Leeson. There's even a movie made about him. Look it up. I don't remember the name of the movie, but there is a movie made about him. Maybe we can look. Nick Leeson movie, yeah. Rogue Traders. Yeah. I don't know if it's available on Amazon and stuff. Yeah. Oh, no, it's not free. But I'm sure you guys can find ways to watch that for free. And it's a good guy, Evan McGregor. He's a great actor. If you're interested in something he did lately, um, he did a show on Hulu, I believe. This is about a Russian noble that somehow gets stuck in a hotel after the Russian Revolution. It's kind of about his life. Stuck in hotel. Oh, A Gentleman in Moscow. It is a beautiful show. Of course, he was also Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you're a fan of him. All right, going back to our market, that's pretty much the extent of the market. But these things typically happen within less than a second. You can trade $1 billion if the trader has a limit in a second, no problem. Obviously, these banks also have lines against each other because I don't know that after doing this transaction, let's say DLJ said mine for 100. So total, they bought 150. And about half an hour later, dollar yen is trading at 140. Okay. That means they lost money if they haven't covered it somewhere else because they bought something at 143.91 or 95. It's trading at 140. There is no reason, there is no there is legal requirement, but the LJ could say, sorry, I lost money on the deal. I'm not paying you those yens. You may have already done a transaction to cover it. So, you may lose money because of that. But companies have lines against each other. They say, okay, I'm going to do business with you up to $10 billion. If it's more than 10, your system if your back office is proper, your system immediately should tell you this transaction would exceed the trading limits, so you can't do it. All right, let's go back to our PowerPoints. All right. In terms of by country, the biggest share is typically the London market and American market as well, but it's primarily the London market. Now, how does these things work? I mean, how am I sending foreign currency? Uh, it's through what's called correspondent banking relationships. Suppose I'm a Turkish bank. I did a deal with Chase Manhattan, and basically I told them I'm going to pay you, send you $50 million, and you're going to send me 1.96 billion yen. Okay, that's the transaction. Just because I'm a Turkish bank doesn't mean my transactions are limited to dollar Turkish lira. But I used to do a lot of these trades myself in my personal account. So how does this work? If this was all US, when I give you a check for $1,000, you take it and you put it in your bank. But the way it works, you deposited that to your JP Morgan account, but the check is from Wells Fargo. But both of these banks have an account in Federal Reserve. So depositing that check means the back office is going to send a uh, instruction to Fed, say, please get me $1,000, and JP Morgan is going to pay this, and it's coming from the account of this guy. That's fine, but we don't have an international Fed or international Federal Reserve. We have correspondent banks. So my correspondent bank, let's say, a lot of Turkish banks used to use Bank of New York, or we just called it Bony Bank, BONY. It's now Bank of New York Mellon. And in Japan, they would use, let's say, Tokyo Mitsubishi. Okay, it's one of the largest Japanese banks. So if I agree to send 50 million to JP Morgan or Chase Manhattan and receive 1.96 million yen, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send money to, I'm going to instruct my correspondent bank in New York, Bank of New York, and say, I have an account with them. Please take out $50 million from my account and send it to JP Morgan Chase. At that point, it's the problem of US system. And I'm going to send another instruction to my Japanese correspondent bank. Expect to receive 1.96 billion yen from the correspondent bank of Chase Manhattan. Maybe they're using Sakura Bank. I don't know. So Chase Manhattan says, Sakura, deduct 1.96 billion yen from my account and send it to Tokyo Mitsubishi, but it needs to be credited to this client's account. That's how you do it in international payments as well. And these are pretty important, and it makes it rather efficient. That's kind of how things worked. It started working in 13th, 14th centuries. So if you were an Italian merchant and you bought some stuff from a British merchant, or at that point English merchant, how are you going to pay him? There was no paper currency. There was no, internet accounts. There's no Zelle. But the bank that you use, the Medici Bank, has a what you want to call branch in London. So you just give Medici Bank gives the British trader a note or ships the note to the British trader. And when you take that notes to the Medici Bank branch, they just pay you. It was the old version of the check. It was a little bit slower, but these days we have electronic correspondence. I mean, even before internet, we had something called teletext. I don't know if you guys remember it at all. It was a faster version of Telegraph with a dedicated line. That's how you got the stock tickers through teletext, and you sent instructions on this international system of banking. And there are also kind of networks. The most common is the so-called SWIFT, especially if you want to send money in foreign currencies. It goes through that. It's short for Society for Worldwide International Financial Communications. We talked about the market that we talked about was the spot market. It kind of sounds like it's an immediate purchase or sale. The agreement is immediate, but the actual delivery takes place at T plus one. T being the next business day, or T plus one being the next business day. It used to be two, but it is now one. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.